is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. So special that this is actually the first guest appearance of 2026. And this man, he carries many accolades and many honors. He's a comedian, actor, host of the Mundane Festival Podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts on planet Earth. He has a new project entitled Killing in Obscurity, Setups and Punchlines Volume 2, dropping this Friday, February 20th on all streaming platforms, and his video on YouTube, and we'll get into all of that stuff. So without further ado, we have the one, the only, the great Chris Lamberth in the building. Chris, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Danny. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. Awesome shirt, by the way.
Thanks, man. Hey, I got to keep it Carolina, bro. I saw it in Goodwill last week for $2. I'm like, I had to get it.
You know, I've only been a couple times, and I don't think and it's been years. And the last time I was in Myrtle Beach, I didn't get to go. For some reason, my dumbass didn't stop. All the cookouts on 95, I didn't stop. I should have.
Man, Myrtle Beach. God, I hadn't been there in ages, man. And because Myrtle Beach is like, when I saw you were doing you were doing a weekend sets there, I was like, oh man, I wish I would have known.
Yeah, it was 2024. Yeah, the last time.
Okay. Yeah, next time you go, man, please let me know. I'm pulling up.
Okay, yeah, if they have me back down there. We had fun. They were great shows. And the time that I was there, I featured there in 2015 for New Year's Eve at the Comedy Cabana.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later they had me headline, and yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, Myrtle's about 2 hours away from me, and man, so I spent a lot of time out there. But enough about that, man. We got to get into this new project, man. Killing in Obscurity, Setups and Punchlines Volume 2. I listened to it, man. It's a great album. Great album. I tell you, there were two things. Well, I think it was really three things that really just had me laughing out loud. The thing when you talked about just like killing time before your set, and you pulled up to this shopping center and you saw that they had a TJ Maxx. I'm like, this dude really think he me. Because that's quite literally me, like every single Saturday. I'm at Goodwill, I go to Lowe's, and then I go to TJ Maxx just like you, to get candles.
Yeah.
And so, man, just it's crazy how as we mature, like our tastes like evolve over the years. And like if you would have told me in my early 20s that TJ Maxx was going to be your one-stop shop on Saturdays, I'd have laughed in your face. But you know what? Joke's on me. So
yeah.
What is it about TJ Maxx that just really has your heart?
I don't know. I mean, there's more Marshalls around me. And then like Long Island is just like a place that's like strip mall haven USA. Like for every 5 miles, there's like 7 of them. There's like so many, strip malls. And I pulled up to this movie theater, this AMC somewhere out in Long Island. I had never seen a TJ Maxx and a Marshalls together.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, well, shit, I'm going to get some candles from here. And, and it's great because I think even before COVID, I think this was before COVID, I'd like to get candles somewhere and then just get if I didn't have a show on a Friday night, just rent a movie, like an art house movie, and just vibe out, light a candle, with some ginger ale and take out and just chill, man. And then ladies like the candles when they come over. Yeah.
Hey, you thugging it out, man. I love it.
Yeah, you find a good woman, she'll pay for those candles. She'll pay for them and give you. We had my girlfriend one time we went, she spent like quite a pretty penny on some candles. That haul. We had a haul, so she took some, I took some. Yeah, we got to do another haul soon.
I'm telling you, having a lady that's this passionate about candles like you, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
So, what were the last candles that you bought?
I'm a big sand and fog guy. The one that I have, let me see. This is a winter berry natural wax blend. So that's a sand and fog. Fancy. From Marshalls. It's like $8. $8 for a 2-wick candle.
You can't beat that.
You can't beat it. I usually like to get 2. It's hard to not get to stock up on tons of them when you're in there.
Yeah, you right about that. That's me. I get the candles, and if they got the Cremo body wash, I'm like, yeah, gimme.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. I'm a Dr. Bronner's guy. I don't really see that in there. Like I had to restock at Wegmans. You guys might have some. I don't know how far south Wegmans goes.
Now, closest Wegmans for me is up in Chapel Hill, and that's
Okay.
like, yeah, and that's about it's like 4 hours and some change. But I think they're
Yeah.
putting one. I think they're putting one in Charlotte though, and
It's a good
that's
store.
yeah. I
Yeah.
get because I got family up there, and every time I like up in the Triangle area, and every time I leave from there, Wegmans is always the last place I go because
Yeah.
man, I love their juices, man.
Okay, I gotta try it. I like their bakery's good. I try not to go there every time I'm there, but like it's good. I was in there with my girlfriend on Saturday. We were just out at the movies, we went to eat, and then I said I got to stop at Wegmans to get some like toiletries. They got I like we shouldn't be dropping these names of these brands, but Scotch Porter, the beard wash.
Mm-hmm.
I got some deodorant's cheap there. Deodorant's usually cheap at the grocery store.
Yeah,
Cheaper than CVS and all that. And then,
dude,
but then I spent like I bought like 5 or 6 things, $75.
crazy.
You know, when you go to the grocery store, like it's just, I mean, the Dr. Bronner's would cost like 16, 17. And then I bought a mixing bowl that was $13 because I was going to bake some chicken and I wanted a big bowl to like mix the seasoning and olive oil and all that. But yeah, man, it's just like 75.
Yeah,
Insane.
for 5 items, it really is. It's like every the price of everything's going up now.
Yeah.
Listen, just like you were saying with the deodorant and CVS. I was in there last week getting deodorant, and I was looking. I'm like, bro, when did deodorant start costing $10? I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. You gotta be couponed up when you're in CVS.
No bullshit. I need to I need to start couponing. I think that's the next phase of my maturation
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I loved on your album when you were talking about you getting the mystery fees from the Easy Pass, and
Right.
it started making you hum. You really hum you got a strong Negro spiritual hum, man.
Thank you, man.
That thing, man. I swear to you, I was like doubled over in laughter at work listening to it.
Cool,
Lord,
man. Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then the Spike Lee story.
The closer. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a real event. Would have made a weaker man quit. But you know, I kind of knew yeah, it was that's a fun story that I'm glad that it's gonna live somewhere. It's gonna live in album audio form. It's gonna live on the special. So I'm proud of that. That's one of my proudest bits, I would say.
You should be proud, man. That was a job well done. So, how long did it take you to create that whole project from start to finish?
God. Well, as far as like coming up with the jokes or just putting everything together.
Just well, both.
So a lot of those jokes came over the course of doing stand up for 16 years. I put a project out in 2020 called Failed Running Back, which was what I like to call a poor man's version of Chris Rock's Kill the Messenger. Because
Mhm.
Chris Rock, when he did that special, he was like in South Africa, he was in New York, he was all over the place. I recorded all my sets on my phone for the most part, and I had some material, and I thought we were going to die, or I thought I was going to die during COVID, and I just said, well, I want to have something with my name and a barcode on it to just show that I was here, just to like because that meant something to me, like having an album like my heroes had that I listened to growing up. That was about 25 minutes of material, so that would have probably been 11 years of material, like, and I just kind of picked the best that I had at the time. That would be, if I were to get a half hour for Comedy Central, if they were still giving them out, that would have been some of those jokes would have been in there. But when I decided to make a special, I would say it was at the bottom of 24. I started headlining a lot more. doing one-nighters, doing shows on the road, being in Myrtle Beach. And I was doing this show in Schenectady, New York, which is in the capital region of New York, Albany area, capital region or whatever. And this theater called Proctor's Theater mainly house like Broadway touring shows that have been on Broadway. And they had a New Year's Eve night. There's 900 plus people in there, almost 1,000.
Wow.
And I was doing my material that I'd just been working on, and it was just crushing really hard in front of this big theater. And I just reached out to Brandon Collins, who's the host of Drunk Black History, Medium Popcorn Podcast. He's on the Black Guy Who Tips a lot, and just reached out to him. He's a producer, been producing shows for ages now, for a long time. And I said, hey, what do you think about producing my stand-up special? Do you think you could, what would that entail? And we started talking about it. And I reached out to a buddy of mine, Jeff Cerulli, who had just put out his own special that he directed. He's a documentary filmmaker, and he did his own special. And we just talked about it. The three of us talked, and we secured the venue, Caveat, in New York City. And we were initially going to do 2 shows on June 27th of last year. Only sold enough tickets for 1 show. And that is how it just went down. We just worked hard. Any gig I could get, I would I'd take it and work on the material. And some of the candle bit happened around this time last year. I remember I was in Long Island around this time last year, about a week before my birthday. And that happened to me. Then I paired that with a dating encounter. And now you get that candle bit. So that's kind of, some jokes kind of happen as I was living my life. And with like jokes like the Office chunk and the Spike Lee story and maybe like the internet stuff, were jokes that I wanted to put out there, because I felt like I can't do these jokes for the rest of my life. I need to put it out there. So, yeah.
Man, and I cannot wait for people to hear it, man. Killing in Obscurity, Setups and Punchlines, Volume 2. Again, drops this Friday, February 20th. Everywhere you can get it's going to be everywhere where your eyes and ears are located. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Now, your podcast, the Mundane Festival. Man, I've been such a fan of that podcast for years and years and years. Like every Sunday, I'm doing the Birdman hand rub. I'm like, all right, here we go.
I've been inconsistent lately because just life stuff, but yeah, I've been doing it since 2013. Yeah, it's fun to do when I'm doing it. I was about to say, how it is. It's hard doing a podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, but bro, if you can afford to, you're knocking on like 800 some odd episodes. You can afford to be inconsistent.
I try to be. I've said recently that comedian Rob Hayes, very funny comic from Atlanta, but he's LA based now, I believe. He has a show that he calls the Inconsistent Podcast, so he can just kind of put it out whenever he wants. And I said I'm jealous of him because he's got that name. But yeah, it's fun to do. It's fun to connect, fun to talk to people, and just when I'm able to, and then just do it by myself. Just in the spirit of like Bill Burr's podcast, Monday Morning Podcast, and a buddy of mine, Moranzio Vance, who's a comic from North Carolina but based in LA. He used to do a podcast called Just Killing Time by himself. Paul Verzi, same thing. He's doing something new now, but yeah, those guys are kind of, Paul helped me starting out, and then this gentleman named Christian Polanco, who's a comedian, but he now does a soccer podcast called The Cooligans, and they kind of blew up off of that. So yeah, I'm still just doing the same thing, but yeah, it's fun.
And I tell you, my favorite episode ever is you and Don Will literally spent like a half an hour talking about French fries. I'm like,
oh, we did?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
This was probably, I want to say like maybe 2021, 2022, but that's
okay.
Still, that like the weight of my heart is through French fries, and the way that y'all were just describing it and just like breaking down like the science of like the crinkle cut fries and stuff. And then Don Will was talking about, I think he brought up White Castle. I think he was like, because it's rare that fries are good when they're cold. And I want to say it was White Castle he talking about. He's like, White Castle fries are good when they're cold. I'm like, okay. I mean, we don't have any White Castles around me, but it was just really cool to hear two dudes just basically just bantering for half an hour about French fries. That was awesome.
Well, I guess there's just a trade-off from being up north and in the South. I feel like you guys kind of have everything when it comes to all the food selections. We're just now getting a Zaxby's in South Jersey, and the first time that I had Zaxby's, I was down there in Myrtle Beach, and yeah, I think you guys have Crystals, right? Or no?
We don't have. Well, you know what? We just not in the not. Well, I live in the Charleston area. We don't have any. We used to have them, but we don't have them anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Closest Crystal for me, I think, is in Savannah. That's like 2 hours.
Oh, okay. What's the Victor Cruz, the receiver from the Giants?
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be opening up one somewhere in New Jersey, so we'll see. But to your point, Don Will did the music for the special. So when the special drops on YouTube, he gave me he didn't give me a beat up, but he's the music. He did the music for it. So it's in house, man. Like it's like that Issa Rae adage where it's like you reach across the table instead of, waiting for somebody to give you a shot, you kind of just, you do it that way.
Sage advice. You know what? Corrections and retractions. There's a Crystal in Orangeburg, South Carolina, which is actually owned by Charlemagne. And it opened up maybe a few months ago. Orangeburg is like maybe an hour away from me.
Is Crystal's good?
But Mundane Festival. Yeah, make sure y'all check that out. Normally he drops an episode every Sunday, and he has a Patreon as well.
Yeah,
so with bonus episodes as well.
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
Growing up in the DMV, the area. Mm-hmm. So what was DMV life for a young Chris Lamberth?
DMV for me, we didn't have that many kids in my neighborhood growing up. They moved away or they were a little older, so I spent a lot of time. So I grew up I thought it was Forestville, Maryland, where I grew up, but they did some redistricting. Now it's called District Heights for some reason. But I would hang out with kids at school. When you finally get to the age of playing sports, organized sports, I played with Camp Springs, and that was where I got to hang out with other kids. And then my cousins lived in Temple Hills, Maryland, which was maybe 6 miles from where I grew up. And there were kids in that neighborhood. So my cousins were 2 years older than me. They're twins. And we play outside. I'd play outside with them. So, and then the other kids in the neighborhood. But I went to Catholic school in Southeast DC, St. Francis Xavier School, from preschool to 6th grade. And then I moved to another school, Mount Calvary Catholic School, which was minutes away from my place my parents' house, which was next door to the high school that I went to, Bishop McNamara. So once I graduated, just went across, not even across the street, just next door to high school. And we had back then, I want to say maybe it was 800 kids at that school, maybe close to 150 seniors. So it was a small school, and it was great. I had a great time just in school. I think I did Don Will's when he used to have a podcast. I would say, I think I told him that my life was like, I felt like a black Kevin Arnold from the Wonder Years.
Okay.
Where it's like, yeah, mom, dad, didn't have any brothers or sisters, but, just a normal, whatever a normal suburban life is. I had that, organized sports, collect the football cards, some baseball, but football and basketball. And then my uncle, my dad's oldest brother, was a merchant marine. So he'd travel all over the world, and he'd bring back gadgets. So I think that's where I found my love of tech. And he'd also bring back movies, and he would like put all these movies on tape, like Top Gun, Goonies, we'd watch all that stuff. We had Star Wars. He had Star Wars on Laserdisc. So I think with him, I kind of fell in love with movies through like watching all those movies with him. He'd take us to the movies. We'd spend summers down in North Carolina. Dad's mom lived and my aunt. We'd ride go-karts, learn how to play baseball. Just fun, normal kid stuff. Good times, really good times.
Right on. And there was a story you told about when you were a kid at a talent show, and you sung "Lately" by Jodeci.
Yeah, I sung "Lately." So that was in seventh grade. I moved to Mount Calvary, and their big thing was to go to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. If you were in the drama club, you got to go to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, in Williamsburg, Virginia. And I'd never been, and I wanted to go to Busch Gardens, but I think I secretly wanted to just be in the play. I think I had a fear of theater, of acting, because I respected it so much, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like this reverence and this fear, but all that I knew was like R&B music from the radio. Like I had like, Boyz II Men, Jodeci. I love those guys, but I don't know why. I don't know, with the internet, with Twitter, it's like you gotta hate one and love the other. Why can't you just like them both? So my dad, a good dude, he would my late great dad, he would indulge me. I would play all that music in his truck. We'd ride around Cooley High Harmony, Jodeci. But maybe I had a Walkman back in junior high, but maybe around like 13 or 14, I might have been. Maybe I was at Mount Calvary at that new school when I got a CD player, which would have been a Discman. And I think I got the Boyz II Men Christmas album. And I got maybe it was Tevin Campbell. But I remember I got that was one of my first CDs, was the Boyz II Men Christmas album, and maybe Tevin Campbell's I'm Ready. Eventually, Diary of a Mad Band I got by Jodeci. Uptown, I'm long one. Uptown MTV Unplugged is where I first heard Lately. I didn't know that was a Stevie Wonder cover. I'd later learn that. And I learned the song through them playing it on the radio and having that Uptown MTV Unplugged tape. And I said, I'll just sing that. And I remember I love sports. I used to have an Alabama Crimson Tide hat, baseball cap, and I would start of the song off as JoJo, because JoJo wore it to the front. And, and then when he gets to, he says, Casey singing, and I turn the hat backwards because Casey, would sing it, had his hat on the back. And all the girls started they loved it. And I got a part, and they originally wanted me to play the lead son. It was The King and I. Anna is the lead woman. They wanted me to play her son, but I was scared. So I eventually, I don't know what I did, but I played the King's right-hand man, who was just like a kind of a snitch, or just kind of like he was just like the man, the lover has been found, he's dead. I remember that line. I was just the King's like servant guy. And then, but I just remember that moment. I was like, oh, this is kind of who I am. And then we did The King and I. We did The King and I got to go to Busch Gardens. 8th grade, I did The Sound of Music. I was Maxx, who was the Von Trapp family's friend, and he helped them escape from the Nazis. And I had 2 songs. And I remember my dad said to me, and I think it kind of crystallized in my brain, and it was a kind of a predominantly white school. There were black kids there, but it was white, and my dad said that all of the black parents were proud of me. Like, they were proud of the way that I performed, that I spoke so well. And I remember that's kind of where I found myself, because sports, I love sports as a kid, but I wasn't that good at basketball. If I would have had more grit, I probably could have played football or gotten somewhere, I think, if I really dedicated myself. Not to say I'd be in the NFL or anything, but I probably could have got a scholarship to a school somewhere in college, maybe. I'd probably own like 2 dealerships by now, car dealerships, with an ex-wife, and a daughter that didn't love me. So that, so I think that kind of started my career. But as far as like really loving acting, the fact that I was like above average at something where I thought sports was gonna be the thing. Cause as a kid, you think you want to be Bo Jackson when you're a kid, and then you realize you're not as fast as him. They put you on the line, on the defensive line.
And you know what? You literally inadvertently segged into my next question. I was going to ask you about just getting bit by the acting bug, and then you just perfectly, just seamlessly, just transitioned from Jodeci to talking about pursuing a field in acting. So, what was it that really, like, who were your influences in terms of acting?
Well, I would say initially, and I think I talked to the homie Sam about this on Firestarter one time when he was on the show. It was River Phoenix and Stand By Me. It was all those kids like the Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman and what's the other brother? Jerry O'Connell. But really it's River Phoenix. And then around 7th and 8th grade year, like this would be like, I want to say like 90, 92 through 94. When that Jackson's movie, An American Dream, came out,
Yeah,
it was Jason Weaver. He was the guy. Like that was like this guy. He's like a couple years older than me. He can sing, he can dance, he can act. That's the dude. And I remember like Love Ambition, that album he had from Motown. I remember just just playing that CD all the time. And I love music so much. I used to take my lunch money and save it to go to the record store and get CDs. And I remember one time my parents were like, yo, you're not buying any more CDs. And I think Love Ambition was like one of the last ones I could get for a while. And I was crushed when his second album didn't come out. Because he started working with like, oh my God, I'm trying to think what's the guy that maybe had, was it one for the money?
Horace Brown.
Horace Brown was producing. Thank God you knew that. He worked on a couple songs, but he had like a little EP that came out and then it was just like over with. So, but I love him on The Chi. I think he's like one of the best actors on that show. And he's not like rubbing it in anybody's face. He's not like chewing up scenery. He's just like a grounded professional actor. Yeah. So he's one of my favorites growing up, definitely.
And then what made you decide to pursue acting in like degrees of higher education?
I think I was a junior. So I think maybe like my sophomore year of college, of undergrad, I discovered August Wilson. And we had to do the drama students, like if you were in a drama club, you could do a monologue for Parents Weekend. And there was a play of his called Two Trains Running. I think Lawrence Fishburne may have originated the role, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was a character, Sterling. I think it was it Two Trains Running. I think God. What was a Taxi one? God. I'm sorry. So one of those I think I did that monologue and oh wait. No. It was either that monologue or a play called Jitney that was August Wilson. One of those shows. I discovered him and I was like, oh, this guy's like my dad. This guy's like my uncle. This guy, I know these people. I know these Black people, and I could see myself on the pages where when you're a kid and you're doing these like Rodgers and Hammerstein plays where it's like these white characters. My senior year play was Bye Bye Birdie. I was Albert, the Dick Van Dyke character. Whereas the shows that are meant for white people to do for the most part. And I was like, oh, these people are Black. So I remember just wanting to investigate that more. And one of my theater professor, he said, you might want to think about grad school and you might want to think about Chicago. And I did this audition called the ERDAs. I think it's called the Unified Residential Theater Association, something where you audition in different regions of the country wherever you're close to. And I auditioned in New York, and you could do like a contemporary monologue or in a classical. And I went up there. My parents, took time off. We went to New York. We got our hotel, and I auditioned, and you had to pay like $100 to audition. And I got one school that wanted to see me. They didn't pass me on to the second round or whatever it was, which is bullshit because I think it's kind of a grift. You should just be seen by everybody, so in case they want you or whatever. Roosevelt University was a school that gave me their info, and they said, we'd love to see you. I also auditioned at Yale School of Drama in New Haven, which I didn't know was the hood back then, was in the hood. And they were like, oh, yeah, that was good. But most people like to wait until they're older. I said, well, I already know what I want to do. You guys are the best. So I want to work. And they were like, okay, nothing. So they didn't get that. My dad and I flew out to Chicago, my first time on a plane. I auditioned, and June Compton, who was one of my professors, she said, when you did your Shakespeare in New York, I mean, we kind of know if somebody can act once they open up their mouth within the first 10 seconds. And I was like, okay. And so I went there. My parents made it happen, got financial aid, and moved out there and lived in Chicago for 5 years, worked there professionally, doing some shows, and just moved to New York to be closer to my parents and just rocked out. And I'm still here.
Right on, man. Kudos to you, and kudos to your parents for really supporting and believing in your dreams.
Yeah.
And your dad, I know he's a very important figure in your life. And just share with us about how great of a man he was.
He was a great dude. He was a kind of guy, like he wasn't perfect. He had, but I think like I've said this a bunch, like when you're a kid, you look at your parents as, if they're good ones, you look at them as like superheroes. And then when you're a teenager, you're like, you don't even know who I am, Dad. You kind of get a little rebellious or whatever. And you just realize that, oh, that's just a dude trying to figure it out. My mom's just a lady that was trying to figure it out. She doesn't have all the answers. Neither of them do. And then when you realize that, and you think about the sacrifices that they made, the job that they did, it's like, that's pretty remarkable. So from that standpoint, as somebody that's about to turn 46 on Saturday, it's like the worst day of my life was when he died. So a guy that protected me for 41 years, that made sure that, everybody has their ups and downs, but for the most part, it's like the worst day is when he's gone. And you got to live the rest of your life on all Madden after that. So like trying to figure that shit out. But he was just a good dude. He was there when I succeeded, was there when I failed. I mean, why, lick my wounds and just was a constant. And just it's just I'm trying to yeah, it's a great question. It's just the dude was just there. And when he couldn't be, he made sure somebody else was there that I was taking care of. But for the most part, he was there. He came to shows. They used to hold the curtain when I was in college so they could make it up. They were only 90 minutes from the school from my undergrad. Yeah, he just protected me from a lot of stuff. He was he would admit when he was wrong about something. And he said, well, I was thinking this, probably should have thought that, but that's just what it is. And I think when he was younger, he wanted to play baseball, and he got injured and he couldn't play. So he just kind of, once he realized that what my passions were, I feel like he dedicated the rest of his life to make sure I got to where I am today, achieved the things that I have achieved, even when my mother didn't feel the same way. But like I said on the project, I'm not famous, but I've done a lot of cool stuff. And I get one of the coolest things I ever did in my career was take my parents to the movie theater to see me in that Melissa McCarthy movie. And, with my 2 or 3 lines, and I could just see I was sitting beside my dad in between them. My mother was like, and my dad was just like,
man, that's all right.
yeah. Yeah. So, and then we went to Ted's Montana Grill after that.
Hey, what did y'all get from there?
What did we get from Ted's?
Yeah.
I think I got their bison burger. I don't even remember. I got that. I like that. And then I don't remember what they got, but it was, it was just, it was nice, man. When you think about those memories, you think about that kind of stuff. And I know he was proud because he told me, he said, you're doing it. And when I was down on myself, that's when it helped too, when he was helpful too. He just said, you'll be all right. So it's a mind fuck when the person that told you you're going to be all right isn't here anymore.
Yeah.
And you got, it's just what, you do what you got to do.
Man, again, big salute to your father, man. That was just the way you described him, man, just an extremely honorable individual. And
yeah.
Again, salute to him. So now, comedy.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get bitten by the comedy bug?
God, really when I was a kid, man. A lot of you probably hear me talk on the podcast when I talk about comedy. Martin Lawrence was the guy because he's from the area. I mean, was listening to him when I shouldn't have been, like Def Comedy Jam, the TV show, his first album, probably better than some of his other specials. The Talking Shit album is a classic. It's just, he is like, I think Kevin Hart is like the next gen version of him. Obviously everybody, comes from the Richard Pryor tree and all that stuff when you talk about stand up and everything like that. But like a man who was very funny, very cool, had the swagger, leading man, like in some ways maybe an unorthodox leading man, but he could carry these films. Also the vulnerability that he had in his act and in his comedy that you could see throughout all of his work. Wasn't afraid to be somebody that was to take the L. Not afraid to do, like, even if you look at, what is it, Dragonfly Jones is, funny and his assistant always kicks his ass, so like that's an example. But he was a guy, he's one of my all-time favorites. And then I would say Paul Mooney, Richard Pryor, all those guys on Def Jam, like D.L. Hughley, who I got to work with, met him, who was really kind to me. First time that I performed at Caroline's, which used to be a prestigious club in New York City, was because of D.L. Hughley. And I used to watch my dad would be asleep in the bed. I'd be in him and my mom's room watching cable, watching Def Comedy Jam. My mother would come home late because she had worked the night shift at her job before she retired. And then I get up again the next morning and watch it again, like Saturday morning cartoons. I'd hold up the stereo and record it so I could have the audio tape of those shows. I was obsessed, man. So I love stand-up. Chris Rock, obviously, Bring the Pain. I think Bring the Pain. The only thing that recently matches it, I would say, to me, would probably be Patrice's Elephant in the Room.
Mm-hmm.
But like 96 Bring the Pain, just kind of like, to me, is the quintessential stand-up comedy special. You talk about your personal life a little bit, open with the Marion Barry stuff, political, relationships, and normal topics that every comedian talks about, but just very strong, very very like tight. So that, like those guys. Chappelle, of course. But I was afraid, man, just like theater acting. I was just afraid, and I was 29 years old. I was here in New York City. I live in Jersey, but I was here. I did a level 1 improv class at UCB. And that's almost like a pyramid scheme in a lot of ways. Even though my teacher was great, it was just like I already in debt for college and grad school. So it's like I already did that. I already went to school. So I just said, you know what? I should try stand up. I've always wanted to do it. I kind of came out to my parents. I was like, I think I'm going to start stand up. They were in the kitchen. We were in the kitchen. I was just like, I think I'm going to start stand up. And then I went to, was hanging out with some friends that, not necessarily friends, but some people that I met when I moved here. And they were good. They're decent people, but it's like they had disposable income. They lived with their parents still at the time. And it would be like entourage like every weekend. I can't afford bottle service. I had one drink and I got to pay you $70 for this bottle. I can't do that. So I just had to figure out something else to do. And I just remember hanging out with them one night. And after that, I got out the cab and just went to this comedy club and asked about their open mics. And that was like mid to late June of 2009. And I never looked back. And I'm talking to you, promoting this festival.
So what was your first experience getting on stage?
First experience getting on stage, I was nervous, but it was at an open mic. And it was like with people, I think maybe the guys like, I don't know if you know, like Mark Norman. You might have heard of him if you look at guys who are famous now, who are like millionaires now, who went on to do certain things. He was guys like that, Dan Soder, guys are on their way up at the time. And if you get I would call it like, I did fine. My first time up, I was like, all right. And they said, come back next week. And I came back and I just kept coming back. But it was all right. Now, I didn't like destroy or anything, but I would say that like open mics in New York City at that time, it was like doing, playing against the first team defense. Because it's the room full of other comics. So if you get a guy like Mark Norman to be like, to laugh, like I see what you did there, that means you did well. So you got something to work with. And comics are usually the people that give you your first gigs. So you just start finding out about different shows like bar shows, and you just kind of keep going through and just working your way up. It's definitely, there's a lot of meritocracy to it. And then, like anything, it's a business, and you see people that maybe aren't that good, but whatever. You just got to keep your head down and keep plowing away.
And then you work your way up and you start building your chops.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize that I'm like, okay, I think I might have something here?
I think when I started to get the respect of my peers. When they would say, oh, a good set, like, and they weren't just bullshitting, and you could tell, and just like people knowing that you wanted to work. And I remember going down, taking the train when I didn't know the city that well. I would take the train into the city, and I went to this one bar show that this comic, Sean Donnelly, really funny comic, he had a show, and it was in the basement of this bar that's not far from MSG, Madison Square Garden. He had this show. And he sees me. He's like, hey, Chris, how you doing? Because he used to run an open mic that I went to. And we were just talking. He's like, oh, you've been working? I was like, yeah, just been, doing shows, mics, doing whatever I can. And then like a couple minutes later, he was just like, dude, somebody dropped out. Do you want to do a set? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I did a set, did well, and it just kept working, just always being prepared. I didn't know I was going to perform that night. But it felt good that they were like, hey, can you come on and do a set? I was like, bet. Yeah, I could do that. So,
and then
just respect.
Oh, go ahead.
No, just respect from peers, really.
And then what was the high point for you in terms of doing comedy?
Oh, wow. The high point. Oh, man. I don't even know. There's been a lot of fun moments. Like you performing in front of, like, I would say, okay, I toured a little bit with Chris Hardwick, who had the Nerdist podcast. He was the host of the Minstrel Show from Little Brother.
I remember that.
And so I met Fonte. I would say he's a buddy of mine. We talked on the phone a couple. He's a buddy. I'm not going to say we're BFFs. He's kind enough to do my podcast a couple times. Good dude. I met him at an in-store at Best Buy when he was doing, when I guess this would have been Authenticity, the Foreign Exchange album. And I met, just kind of dapped him up, and he followed me back on Twitter, and we just kind of became cool. And then maybe a year or two later, I'm touring with Chris Hardwick. I was like, Fonte, come through, man. I'll get you a ticket. And I did a show. I was doing a show in Durham, and Carolina Theater in Durham, opening for Chris Hardwick. And Fonte's like, I can come. I just securing a babysitter. I was like, I'm saying to myself, oh shit, one of my all-time favorite MCs is getting a babysitter to come to my show, a show that I'm doing. I thought that was great. So he's at the show, and then Rod and Karen from The Black Guy Who Tips are at the show. I made sure they got tickets. They drove up from Charlotte. And so Chris Hardwick, I do my thing. I crush it, whatever, bring up Chris Hardwick. He's doing his act, and sometimes he goes out into the audience, and he was talking to people, and then he was talking to Fonte. And he was like, wait a minute. So they knew each other because he worked on Minstrel Show. He was the host. And then everybody was like, shit. And it was like kind of a nice, fun moment. We all took a picture together and had dinner. Rod, Karen, and I had dinner with Fonte. And it was great. That was a fun time. Opening for Chris Hardwick in front. Getting to open for Bill Burr, one of my favorite. Yeah. So Killing in Obscurity is a term that Bill Burr used when he was doing this podcast with Tom Rhodes years ago. And Tom Rhodes asked him, he's like, what's the best comedy advice you've ever received? And I'm going to butcher it, but he basically said, one comic told him, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And then he talked about some advice he got from Dave Chappelle, where he and Chappelle were at the Comedy Cellar. Burr was on stage. Chappelle was sitting on the stairs, waiting to go on, listening to Burr. And Burr gets off stage, and Dave Chappelle says, hey, man, really good stuff. The way that you're doing it, it's going to take you a longer road to get it. But when you hit, you're going to hit hard. And Burr said that kept him going through the years of just like going in the middle of nowhere at all these places, killing in obscurity years, where you're going to these clubs and there's nobody there, or it's half full, and you got to try to win the crowd over, and you end up having all these great shows, and the audience says, man, what are you doing here? We never had anybody this funny coming to this club. This is great. Why are you here? And it's like, it's just like, I'm trying. And instead of getting bitter about it, why am I here? He just kept going, and you just kept trying to get better. That was the name. That was a reason for the title, to just, it's like a nod to him. And I had opened for him. I tell the story on my podcast, but the long story short for this, where I bought a ticket to go see him at this club called Bananas in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. This was 2000. This was 2013, I want to say. And Paul Verzi, who's a great friend of Burr's, he and I are buddies, and I just reached out to Verzi and I said, hey man, are you opening for Burr at Bananas this week? And he said, yeah, actually I am. And I was just thinking, like, maybe I could just get to meet Burr through Verzi and just, dap him up. Say, love your stuff, and so I'm waiting in line to go to this show. It's in a hotel, so you can kind of see everything that goes on. So Burr and Verzi come in, and Verzi sees me. He's just like, wait here, Chris. And I was like, all right. And we're about to go in, and I'm just talking to this guy. Before they come in, I'm talking to this audience member who's in line with me. And we're just talking. He's like, oh, you're a comedian too? I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian. He's like, are you famous? And I said, no, man, if I was famous, I'd probably be on the show. And then that was before they had come in. And then Verzi comes to get me. He says, hey, Chris, come here. And I'm in this other conference room, and Bill Burr's in there, and I'm hanging out with him. and we're, just shooting the shit, talking. The producer comes in and he says, "So how are we going to do this?" And Burr says, "I'll do about 50 and let all these guys do 10." And meaning me. So I was a part of these guys. He's like, "I'm opening for this motherfucker." Like, it was crazy. So I opened, crushed it, had fun, got some gigs out of that performance, and we went to White Castle after the show.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that was definitely a Boy Scout. I never was a Boy Scout, but be prepared, always be prepared.
Yep.
Type thing. Yeah, and I had emailed him to thank him. I thanked him that night, but I just emailed to let him know my progress and everything. And he just said, "That's Chris, that's great to hear. Good luck with your stuff. Just keep plowing ahead. Don't let the bullshit beat you down. And hope to work with you again," And so that's like killing in obscurity is a part of that. Like, keep me plowing ahead, try not to let the bullshit beat me down, and just give an offering to the game that I love and respect. That's kind of, that's what it is. And it's also a nod to hip hop, where there's obviously the two pictures of me as a child, and a little bit to Jill Scott too, because you got the Who Is Jill Scott, Words and Sounds, Volume 1, Beautifully Human, Words and Sounds, Volume 2, and then the third one I forget was, I don't remember, but you get it.
Just getting your name out there and just building that comedic muscle.
Yeah. So, yep.
That's some sage advice from Bill, man. You got to open for Bill Burr. That's awesome, man.
Huge. Yeah, shout out to Paul Verzi for making that happen. Yeah, that was open for him twice, unexpectedly, and then doing a benefit for it was really cool. Yeah.
Dope. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that's also near and dear to your heart, the black quarterback.
Yes.
So who was the quarterback that really started that movement for you?
Doug Williams, man. I was set. So it was at 87, 88.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up in the area, like you see this happen, you experience it, and you think that this is going to happen. Like, oh, this is going to be a regular thing. It's not going to be a big deal. So you kind of gotta. And then when he gets kicked off the team, not kicked off the team, but he just is not playing anymore, and it's just like, damn. And then you look at Randall Cunningham, or it's like 7 or 8 years old for me. That's kind of when I kind of really started to come online with sports, where you're wired in and you're watching the games with your dad or whatever. But yeah, just seeing the sweatshirts with the big caricature head of him, and and what that meant and how humble he was about it all. And yeah, and I just started watching that series, Field Generals, on Peacock, and seeing all those stories about how these people just didn't get a shot. As great as they were, they never got a shot. So 2 weeks ago, the Super Bowl was boring. I didn't really have any. I didn't care. My girlfriend wanted to go to a work event that was having a party in the city in Manhattan. I went with her. It was fun to hang out with her, but yeah, and the Bad Bunny thing was, I guess, the highlight, and everybody just left after that. Everybody left the party. Yeah, so Russell Wilson, I still think he could have had 2. They just didn't want Marshawn to get the MVP. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, amazing.
Yeah. It's crazy now. Every time I see Patrick Mahomes, I immediately, first thing that comes to my mind is when his wife was like, fried chicken.
Yeah, it's like, I try to, I had a bit, well, I have a bit up about black quarterbacks I think it's on my YouTube and and on Instagram, but I think there was one where, I think there was one version of it where I said that I'm an alt-right black quarterback supporter. So no matter what they do, it's just like, he's a black quarterback. Because it used to be a time where it was just like they questioned Patrick Mahomes' blackness. I said, hey, man, it used to be a time where it was one drop. It's just one drop. It counts. It
Yeah.
counts. You seen his dad.
Man, listen. Be smoking on that Joe Burrow.
Yep. So he black, and I agree with his wife and maybe his political leanings? No. But out on that field, man, he's a bad man.
Undeniable.
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed it. So now I've had to pick because like it's so ubiquitous now. I have to ride for the Commanders because of Jaden. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy. I'm hoping because he's so skinny, so frail, so slight. I won't say he's frail, but yeah, I hope they build that team around him and he can do something. And you guys got who was just a Trey?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. I get him mixed up with Trey Lance. Trey, is he even in the league?
Who, Trey Lance?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He's with the Cowboys anyway. But like Bryce put on a show. He did well. So it's like they were just like ready to throw him out. And I'm happy that he made that run, man. I'm happy and I hope they can, y'all build off of that.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I'll be the first to admit I was hard on him this year too, but he shut me up in that playoff game.
Yeah.
He did his thing.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into the last segment, which is the 5-question segment. So the first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4 are 100% random. So question number 1, what were Chris Lamberth's go-to school lunch items?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Okay, I would say my mother it's in the special, she used to make great roast beef sandwiches. It would be the leftovers and, you put mayo on it. That was great. But see, that's really tough. I'm just going to say that. It'd be the roast beef sandwiches, Dorito, a sliced apple, Oreo cookies or Chips Ahoy, and cran apple juice box.
Strong list.
Yeah.
Question number 2. If your heart could pump something other than blood, what would it pump?
Another liquid, huh? I don't know. I never ginger ale.
Hey, we'll go. Hey, it's your pick. It's liquid, so you could go with that.
I don't know.
Yeah, my heart will be pumping queso for sure.
Okay, is it related to a food? Is it food related?
It doesn't have to be. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, I'll say Canada Dry, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Question
number 3. What's a food specific to the DMV that you can't get in Jersey that you wish you could get in Jersey?
That's a good question. I mean, most people would say seafood. I mean, you kind of Jersey and New York are too close to really, that's because to me, like both Jersey and Maryland definitely have like an anywhere USA vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's just like, I don't know, man. I guess maybe I think in my older age, I've kind of become more of a seafood guy. And I feel like you can get a lot of the same stuff down there that you can get up here.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's hard.
Hey, well, I'll go with that answer.
Yeah. Maybe barbecue.
Question number 4. What's a revered rap song that you can't stand?
Damn. No, that I can't stand. It's like a classic one?
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever like that. I don't think I was ever a snob. I just didn't listen to it. And I don't want to be okay when everybody liked the No Limit stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know how old you are, but like
we're the same age.
We're the same age. 1980?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, everybody liked No Limit. And I was more of an R&B guy, but the rap that I was listening to I liked Mobb Deep, like Keith Murray, that Def Squad stuff. I never was like, I can't believe you guys listen to this trash. I would say maybe no Limit as a whole, but
okay.
I didn't hate them because you would dance to it a year or two later in undergrad. You'd be dancing behind a beautiful black woman at a party. So all that stuff, like, I don't know how if you were this way, but like I think I was definitely an R&B dude in high school. When I was a junior high, I remember, so we were the same age. For me, I was liking a lot of that West Coast stuff, like Snoop, MC8, all those soundtracks from those movies. I was enjoying that. Then Tribe Called Quest. So Tribe Called Quest was the base. And then when I got to high school, guys were like, "Okay, you like Tribe," and then they're like, "Okay, here's Wu-Tang Clan, here's Redman, here's Keith Murray." And then by the time I got to college, yeah, the Roots were out, but then I locked into the Roots with Things Fall Apart, and then kind of went back with Nas, and then appreciated him more like in the late 90s, and then went back and like Nas is great, and then Jay-Z's great. So, but then around undergrad is when I got into, I know isn't your question, but like, sorry.
It's all right.
It became like that conscious Mos Def, Talib Kweli type stuff was kind of like, and I would say Tribe Called Quest was always the anchor for most of the hip hop stuff that I liked. But quick and dirty answer, No Limit. But I didn't hate him or anything.
Yeah, works for me. I think my pick would have to be Kanye, All of the Lights.
Okay.
Never care for that song. And I think the thing that really just killed it for me was them stupid bongos. I hated them bongos so much.
Yeah. All the Lights.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't enough to like make me pull my hair out, but yeah, it just irritated me, and I would just press skip.
Yeah, because by then you had total control. Like, I would say I didn't really listen to the radio in my like it was always CDs or something. So I always had control over it. And if you were just at a party or something, you just dance to what the girls are dancing to. And that was Nelly, that was DMX. It was anybody.
That's funny. You sound just like my dad. I don't know why. I don't know how the subject came up, but the song "Express Yourself."
Okay.
Express yourself.
Yeah.
He was like, I hated that song, but I tolerated it because the girls like dancing to it. So,
there you go.
See, there you go. Then last question. What's the last thing that really made you laugh?
Man, that's a good question. Maybe my girlfriend did or said something. She might have tanked something. Or
do you remember what she tanked?
I don't remember.
Man,
it's so much. She's funny. So like there's certain things that she might do that I'm just like, I know I picked the right girl now, but I shouldn't say it from that. But she, she's funny. So she's probably the last person to make me laugh, or she did something funny to make me laugh.
And that's a ringing endorsement coming from a comedian.
Yeah.
So it's time to plug and promote, man. So hey, the floor is yours. Anything you want to plug? Like, give them your socials, all that good stuff.
Sure. You can check me out at chrislamberth.com. The name of the album and special is Killing in Obscurity. Setups and Punchlines Volume 2. I'm on Instagram at Chris Lamberth. I'm on Venmo at Chris Lamberth. So if you like my special and you want to contribute, you can do that. I have a podcast called the Mundane Festival, and you got to come on to my show. We shoot the shit.
Absolutely, man. Just let me know when
I get my life together. I'll reach out whenever that is. Yeah, but it's there, and chrislamberth.com. And if I'm coming to a city near you, I will post it on Instagram.
Right on. And Chris, thank you so much. This has been a long time coming, and I'm glad we finally got to link up.
Thanks a lot of fun. Me, it's always good to shoot the shit. And yeah, I enjoy your pod too. And yeah, we're kind of cut from a similar cloth. So it's always good to talk to brothers my age, and you can kind of reflect on, you can be old together.
Yes, sir. And thank you for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to the Mundane Festival featuring Chris Lamberth. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me at Danny Foxworth843. And Chris Lamberth, tell him your YouTube channel.
YouTube channel is Chris Lamberth Comedy.
Subscribe to that too. And on my channel, you can find every episode, every video of every episode of this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast, At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, my candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. And for Chris and myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.